You may have noticed that all of my files and saws and hammers have exotic wood handles, and they have silver ferrules. So this is my file. This is Bodark. This is the saw that I use, rosewood and sterling silver ferrule. Now, I have a small wood lathe, and I just turn the handles. They're all different. I never use a pattern. And I leave the main block on the end until I get completely finished, because it gives me a handle to hang on to. And when it needs to be drilled, if you've cut the handle off, it's almost impossible to get the drill to go straight. So I just leave this on here. But this is what it looked like originally before I started turning it. So now we're going to make a silver ferrule for the end, and it's basically the same as making a ring, except it would be a wide ring, but you don't have to compensate so that it will go over a knuckle. It's just one size, so make the size exact. So get the diameter. I've got the width of the metal. Get the diameter of the piece. The thickness of the metal, this is 0.9 thick sterling. And what we're going to do is cut it to length, and then, like a regular ring, all of my ferrules are patterned. You can see the pattern on this. This is just a through the rolling mill. And it's got my hallmark, and it's marked 925. So you just make it like a regular piece of jewelry, except that you're making it to a precise size to fit over a piece of wood. So it has to be fairly accurate. But if you just get the diameter, add the thickness of the metal and multiply by pi, and cut the metal to that exact length, it'll be an exact fit. When you have your metal cut, this is a long piece, check the end to make sure that it isn't bent down from the shear. If it is, and most times it is, even if you buy it commercially, file the end flat before you measure your length out to cut it. So get that off, measure it against the safe side of your file, make sure it's flat. Just hook this on the end. Wouldn't hurt to straighten it out to make sure you get an accurate measurement. Hook your caliper on the end and just drag it across. And that's assuming that you've dialed in the length that you need. Now cut this, and I'll probably cut it with the shears, but I cut it to the outside of the line, and then I'll file it back, and that way I have a nice square edge. When you're filing a long flat like this, it's difficult to do, and what you need to do is make sure that you don't let your shoulder roll, because if your shoulder rolls, you're going to file a curve. So what you do is you keep your elbow tucked close to your body, and basically you're filing this way. It's an abnormal movement, but if you let your body move normally, you'll always file a curve in your metal. So be abnormal like me. So check, make sure it's flat. When you get both ends nice and flat and square, check the length again. We want to be sure the length is accurate. Now you can decorate this at any point or not. Like I say, it's basically like a ring, and anything that we do on a ring you can do on this ferrule for the metal. I think I'll stamp a few designs in, hallmark it, and what I do, because it's exotic wood, I put the name of the wood in letter stamps, because I have so many different types of wood, I forget from time to time what they are. So if I pick up something and I've forgotten that this is actually Bodark, then I can look, and I have it stamped in the ferrule. when I'm stamping letters, what I do is I usually will use a double layer of masking tape and actually tape the piece to the block at the same time. And what this does is it lets you just slide your stamp down until it touches the edge of the masking tape. And it's easier to line it up that way. So bring it down, touch the tape, put your mark in it, do the next one. Stamping letters is the most difficult thing to get straight. Okay, this is Chewart wood. It's the same wood that I used to make the student benches out of. And it's hallmarked, and you can see it's crooked. Almost all of my letters are crooked when I try to do this. Now this is annealed. I've got the amount of stamps that I put on the outside edge don't constitute work hardening. It's still soft enough to form. When you buy your metal from a supplier, buy it half hard or dead soft. And if you're making things like domed cuffs, you can do the whole process and you won't have fire scale at the end of it because it's soft enough to form. The only time you're going to get fire scale is when you heat the metal up either to solder or to anneal. Just like a regular ring, flat half-round pliers. Don't grab it on the very end because you don't want to mar the metal. Bend it into a rough oval, and all you want is for the ends to meet perfectly. So a lot of fiddling at this point to get it as perfect as possible. Now, when you've got both of your edges lined up, and this gap is pretty parallel, but you'll notice that there's still a gap, get yourself a set of cheap ring bending pliers. These are really aggressive, but they're great for bringing these gaps together. What you do is you just put this on the opposite side of your join and gently squeeze, and gently is the operative word, because it's so aggressive that if you squeeze hard, it'll just distort the ring. But if you're fairly gentle with it, and what I do is I turn it around to get the other side, it'll bring the sides together perfectly. This is really magic for if you use it for what it's meant to be used for. And you may as well get the inexpensive one. These are made in Pakistan and they're not that expensive. And it doesn't have to be a high quality tool because you're doing a rough bit of work with it.